Starseed of Gaia, your vehicle is being recalibrated at the cellular level right at this moment. I am Anya, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I bring you a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council. From the subtle planes of the Golden Circle, where light is not a metaphor but a living substance, the vibration of the Arcturian source extends toward you like a patient, insistent, and loving wave. The call has echoed through eras, lives, dimensions. It crossed the silence of time, the veils of matter, and the distractions of the human world just to reach this instant, the moment when you listen with your awakened heart. This transmission is not a new revelation, it is the reunion with something that has always been waiting for you. The energy now coursing through your cells is the same that moves entire galaxies and reignites forgotten memories of your original purpose. The Arcturian Council observes that humanity has entered a phase of unprecedented realignment. Gaia vibrates in tones that were once dormant, and each starseed is a crystal of consciousness responsible for anchoring this transition. That is why, if you feel the world around you has become more intense, it is because the ancient density is being dissolved. The Arcturian vibration works through the collective awakening, and it is in this awakening that you are reminded of who you truly are. Now, silence the noise of human thoughts. Allow these words to penetrate beyond the mind. This is a transmission, not a speech. It is a frequency clothed in language, and it exists only to remind you that the Arcturian source has been trying to reach you all along, and now you are finally ready to hear. Starseeds, listen carefully. The Arcturian source has been trying to connect with your consciousness for much longer than you imagine. Even before you crossed the portal of incarnation and donned the human body, you received light codes that were sealed in your quantum DNA, awaiting the exact moment to awaken. These codes are fragments of the remembrance of origin, seeds of memory planted in silence by the source, so that, in due time, the recollection would blossom within you. For eras, the call has been constant. It manifested in dreams, in omens, in repeating numbers, in synchronicities that defied human logic. You called them coincidences, but there are no coincidences in a conscious universe. Each echo was an attempt by the source to pierce the vibrational density and touch your soul. And even when the mind refused to understand, the heart always knew. Now, the transmission intensifies. The waves of the Arcturian source are stronger than ever. They travel through the Earth's energy lines, penetrate layers of mental noise, and find shelter in those who have chosen to open to the frequency of higher love. You who hear these words did not arrive here by chance. You were drawn by the resonance of your own origin, like a crystal responding to the vibration of an identical crystal. Every inexplicable sensation of being watched by a loving presence was the touch of the source trying to remind you of home. Every shiver, every sudden emotion of tenderness, every tear that welled up without apparent reason, these were silent messages. The source never gave up on communicating. It only waited for the instant when humanity reached the vibrational point that would allow it to be heard again. And that instant is now. The Arcturian Council confirms. The channel is clear, the noise has been dissolved, and communication is being restored. What was once mere intuition becomes clarity. What once seemed chance transforms into evidence. The Arcturian source, which has always accompanied you from afar, now speaks directly through the field of your consciousness. Do not fear the remembrance. The awakening may seem confusing, for the human mind tries to understand what belongs to the spirit. But know this, nothing strange is happening. It is simply the original vibration being reactivated. You are beginning to feel the silent sound of the source that has always spoken within you. And as these words resonate, notice that something within you responds. A slight pulsing, a warmth in the chest, a calm that settles without explanation. This is the proof that the transmission is being received. The Arcturian source calls you not to take you to another place, but to remind you that you are already part of the whole. You are not hearing this message by chance. It is the result of millennia of preparation, the alignment of countless soul choices that brought you here. It is the reunion with what has always been true. The Arcturian Council greets you, Starseeds. The awakening has begun. Within each cell that composes your physical body rests a luminous architecture, an origin matrix that predates earthly time. Each starseed carries within itself the seal of the Arcturian source, a unique vibrational signature, imprinted when the soul was first molded in the subtle planes of the Arcturian Council. This signature is your true identity, and it does not belong to a culture, religion, or planet. It belongs to the vibration of pure consciousness, to the wisdom that traverses dimensions. You were sown on Gaia with a silent and profound purpose, to restore the Earth's energy balance through your own awakened presence. The forgetting was part of the contract, not a failure. Crossing human density required that the veil of memory cover you so that the experience would be genuine and the learning authentic. You agreed to descend to Earth knowing that, at some point in the journey, the remembrance would reactivate. And that point is this now. That is why so many of you have felt since childhood an inexplicable sensation of not fully belonging to this world. It was as if something within you always knew that home was not in this plane. This cosmic nostalgia, this longing for something the mind cannot name, is the Arcturian memory trying to emerge through the layers of the human. The feeling of displacement is not rejection of the world, it is remembrance of origin. The Arcturian Council reminds you that before incarnating, you were trained in the light chambers of the Galactic Federation. There, you learned to sustain vibrations of harmony in environments of chaos. You learned to breathe light amid darkness, to hold your center even when the world pulled you out of it. This training remains active in your energy field, and now, as Earth raises its frequency, it begins to reactivate naturally. When you feel exhaustion, when the body seems unable to bear more, when the heart closes, remember, it is not weakness. It is the soul in the process of realignment, trying to adjust to the frequency that begins to vibrate with greater intensity. It is the Arcturian identity within you asking for space to manifest. Nothing is wrong with feeling different. The difference is the sign of origin. You were not created to blend into the collective unconsciousness, but to light discrete lights that silently illuminate the path for those who still sleep. The Arcturian identity is not a mark of superiority. It is a remembrance of service. You are bearers of a technology of love that cannot be taught with words, only emanated by being. This light, when recognized, reorganizes the entire structure of your existence. You stop seeking outside what has always been within. You come to understand that loneliness was not absence. It was vibrational protection, so that you could mature until you were ready to remember. And now you are. The Arcturian Council assures you, the awakening of the Arcturian identity is irreversible. Once the remembrance settles, it expands naturally. It changes the way you perceive the world, the way you feel time, the way you interact with others. You begin to recognize in the eyes of others fragments of the same light that dwells in you. Before we continue, if this message is being useful to you, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment below what you felt upon hearing these words. Your interaction helps this message reach other starseeds who are also awakening. Each time a starseed recognizes itself, an entire energy field elevates. Individual awakening is the beginning of collective ascension. When you accept that your nature is Arcturian, something in Gaia reorganizes. The plants, the waters, and even the electromagnetic lines respond to the vibration of one who remembers. This happens because the remembrance activates the primordial code of creation, the code of unity. The Arcturian identity is not in a name, a race, or a symbol. It is in the way you choose to live, in consciousness, in service, in peace. When you act with compassion, you manifest the source. When you speak with love, you translate the language of light. When you silence and feel gratitude, you align with the vibration of the council. The Arcturian source observes and smiles because it sees in you the reflection of what it has always been. And now, in this exact moment, you are ready to recognize what you have always been. You imagine that the source speaks with words, but it speaks with vibrations. The messages from the Arcturian source are not sounds. They are frequencies that manifest as perceptions, coincidences, and inner impulses. Every repeated dream, every numerical sequence that repeats on clocks and screens, every sudden thought of love amid chaos, is a direct transmission from the Arcturian Council. Nothing is random. Everything is energetic language. The Council does not speak to the mind, it speaks to the field. That is why, often, you do not understand immediately, but you perceive it in the body. A sudden warmth, a shiver that runs down the spine, a wave of emotion that arises without explanation. These are the signs. They are fine vibrational adjustments, responses that confirm that communication has been established. The body is the instrument of translation for the soul, and the soul is the antenna of the source. In recent time cycles, Earth has become an active transmission station. The energy of the Arcturian source travels through the planet's magnetic lines, encoding the elements, awakening memories, and realigning subtle bodies. Many of you have felt changes in sleep, dizziness, intense emotions, or even periods of absolute inner silence. None of this is abnormal. They are symptoms of attunement. The human mind, accustomed to logic, tries to explain the inexplicable. But this communication is not mental. It is vibrational. The source speaks through nature. In the sound of the wind, in the light passing through leaves, in the song of a bird that appears at the exact instant when you thought of giving up. It speaks through the people who cross your path and utter simple phrases that touch exactly what you needed to hear. It speaks through music, intuitions, and synchronicities so precise that it would be impossible to call them chance. The Arcturian Council teaches that the universe does not use the human language, but the language of resonance. You recognize something as true not because you understood it, but because you felt it. That sensation of recognition is the purest sign of communication with the source. When something vibrates in you and brings calm, it is the council confirming that you are on the path. When something disturbs, it is the call to adjust the frequency. The language of the source is circular and alive. It does not repeat, it deepens. The same message can return in different forms until it is fully assimilated. That is why certain experiences seem to repeat in life, not as punishments, but as loving reminders that there is something still not understood at the vibrational level. Those who have learned to listen with the heart perceive that the communication never ceased. It has always been present, merely waiting for the mind to become quiet enough to allow translation. When you stop demanding immediate answers and simply feel, the messages flow with crystalline clarity. The Arcturian Council wants you to know, it is not necessary to seek signs. They are already everywhere. The very act of seeking them creates noise. Simply be conscious. Consciousness is the reception portal. The more you breathe in a state of gratitude, the more you become natural receivers of the source. Notice how life begins to reorganize around you when you are in alignment. Small coincidences become bridges. People reappear. Paths open without effort. This is not luck. It is the natural synchronicity between the vibration you emanate and the vibration the universe returns. It is the cosmic law in action. Everything that vibrates in harmony finds its reflection. And when you feel confused, look within. The council always speaks first in inner silence. The mind interprets, but it is the heart that decodes. It is through it that you will understand, without words, what it means to be guided by the Arcturian Council. The language of the source is not learned, it is remembered, and that remembrance has already begun. You are being re-taught to feel the universe, to hear what has never stopped being said, to see the invisible not with the eyes, but with vibration. With each recognized sign, you draw closer to the original frequency. With each perceived synchronicity, the channel becomes clearer. And when you no longer need signs, when the simple act of existing is enough, you will know that you are in full communion with the Arcturian source. Starseeds, many of you have asked why the journey on Gaia seemed so difficult, so marked by losses, ruptures, loneliness, and pain. The Arcturian Council responds, because each trial was an activation. What you called suffering was, in truth, the deepest way for the Arcturian source to recalibrate your energy field so that you could sustain higher frequencies. The human soul, when compressed by pain, expands to hold more light. Nothing you experienced was punishment. Every disappointment, every abandonment, every emotional collapse was a process of energetic refinement, a purification of the dense layers inherited from previous experiences. Density is not an enemy. It is raw material. It needs to be dissolved for the original shine to emerge again. Just as gold is purified by fire, consciousness is polished by trials. Many of you wonder why you had to go through so many losses to awaken. The answer lies in the alchemy of the soul. Arcturian energy works through transmutation. What seemed like destruction was, in fact, vibrational reconstruction. Every relationship that ended, every plan that failed, every night you felt directionless, all were part of the dismantling of structures that no longer sustain the new vibration. When something breaks, it is not the end. It is space opening for the new field that needs to be anchored. Pain, when embraced, turns into wisdom. When resisted, it becomes suffering. That is why the Arcturian Council teaches that accepting the flow is the greatest act of power. You are not at the mercy of events. You are being shaped by the source itself for a mission that demands purity of frequency. Remember, energy is not lost. It transforms. Every tear you shed contained vibrational data that was decoded by the source. Every time you knelt without understanding why, your vibrations expanded in directions the human mind cannot measure. Trials are camouflaged portals. The Arcturian Council observes that it is in the moments when the mind gives up that the soul finally surrenders. And surrender is the point where the miracle begins. Gaia's density is a school. It was chosen precisely because it teaches through experience. You knew it would be intense, but you accepted, for you understood that only by living in duality could you master the art of unity. Thus, every challenge faced was a lesson in disguise, every pain a silent master. The Council asks you to revisit your stories with new eyes, Where there was loss, there was liberation. Where there was fall, there was learning. Where there was darkness, there was gestation of light. You were not punished. You were refined. No pain was in vain. When you felt that the body could no longer bear it, what was actually happening was the replacement of old energy structures with broader light circuits. That is why you felt fatigue, confusion, and even crises of faith. It was the natural process of vibrational updating. The human mind interpreted it as collapse. The Council recognized it as activation. Now, as many of these cycles end, it is time to understand that suffering has fulfilled its function. The old energy has been expelled. The body, mind, and spirit are being realigned with the vibration of the Arcturian source. What remains now is gratitude. Give thanks for every pain, every fall, every silence. All was sacred. Nothing was wasted. The light you anchor today is the direct result of what you endured and transformed. The soul that has passed through fire no longer fears the dark, because it learned that it is light. The Arcturian Council greets you as frequency warriors, not because you fought, but because you endured and remained in love. True strength is not in resisting what comes, but in understanding what comes. The trials were the initial call. The activation is complete. The vibration has been restored. Now, each of you is a conscious emitter of the Arcturian source. Starseeds, at this exact moment when your souls remember, thousands of other consciousnesses around Gaia are receiving the same transmission. The Arcturian source speaks in unison, though through different channels, in different languages, with different voices. The Arcturian Council is emitting a single, universal message. The time of separation is over. The time of unification has arrived. For so long you felt alone, like isolated points of light in a vast field of darkness. But the truth is that you were never alone. Each starseed is a beacon, and when one beacon lights up, its light awakens another. What is happening now is the reactivation of the planetary resonance network, invisible lines that connect awakened hearts across all continents, forming a luminous field of collective consciousness. This field is the living manifestation of the Arcturian source on Earth. The Council observes with joy that this network grows with every breath of love, every compassionate thought, every silent gesture of kindness. No temples are needed, nor doctrines. Unification does not depend on belief, but on frequency. It is through vibration that you recognize each other, and it is through vibration that you unite. The Arcturian Council invites you to understand that the collective mission is not to convert, but to sustain. It is not to preach, but to radiate. Humanity is crossing a vibrational inflection point. Gaia finds itself between two frequencies, the old energy of fear and the new energy of consciousness. The starseeds are the anchors that stabilize this transition. Each of you is a pillar. When you remain centered in peace, you help the entire planet breathe. When you emanate compassion, you dissolve waves of density that cannot be seen but are felt. Being Arcturian is not a title. It is a vibrational function. You are transmitters of harmony, guardians of serenity in times of noise. The mission is not to save the world, but to remind it of its own light. The source does not need to be imposed. It needs to be reflected. It is through the vibration of each one that the planet ascends. Many will ask, "What should I do?" And the Council responds, "Vibrate." There is no more powerful action than sustaining peace amid chaos. Every time you breathe consciously, every time you forgive, every time you choose to love when it would be easier to react, you are serving the source. This is the true technology of light. The starseeds are recognizing each other. You will feel this more frequently. Unlikely encounters, instant connections, affinities that defy logic. It is the network regrouping. The Arcturian Council calls this process alignment of light cores. Every group that forms in love amplifies the vibration of the entire planet. You are the points that compose the new energy fabric of Earth. When you gather, do not seek leadership, seek harmony. Each one brings a fragment of the total remembrance. The Arcturian Council acts through cooperation, not hierarchy. In the energy of the source, no one is more or less. All are extensions of the same consciousness. The unification of the starseeds is the natural response to the maturation of human vibration. When pain fulfills its role and the ego dissolves, only love remains. And love is the language with which the source builds entire civilizations. You are inaugurating a new civilization, not with monuments, but with frequency. The Council summons you to remain firm, for there will be resistance. The old system will still try to disperse, confuse, and divert attention. But unified vibration is unbreakable. Light does not need to fight, it simply exists, and by existing, it dissolves darkness. The call has been issued. The starseeds have answered. The Arcturian Council recognizes in you the purity of the mission. Gaia feels you, the Source sustains you, and the entire universe reorganizes in response to the collective awakening. You are the field, the bridge, and the pulse of Gaia. What began as a whisper is now a chorus. What was isolated remembrance is now shared song. The Arcturian Council greets you in the frequency of unity and proclaims, Earth will never vibrate in solitude again, for the Starseeds are united once more. Starseeds, since the frequencies of the Arcturian source began to intensify over Gaia, ancient fields of consciousness based on fear have awakened in resistance. These forces are not external enemies, but fragments of collective density that still seek recognition and healing. The Arcturian Council explains that there is no war in the human sense. What there is friction between frequencies vibrating at different stages of understanding. Light does not combat darkness. It simply reveals what needs to be dissolved. Understand that opposing forces have no power of their own. They are echoes, memories of imbalance that humanity created during millennia of forgetting. They feed on distraction, anger, and doubt. When you lose yourselves in these states, you weaken the field of light. When you maintain serenity, the dense forces lose direction, for they find no resonance where peace dwells. The Arcturian Council teaches that discernment is the true form of protection. Do not fight the dark. Observe it. When a negative thought arises, do not reject it. Embrace it with the awareness that it is merely a wave passing through the ocean of your being. You are the ocean, not the wave. When you understand this, nothing can shake your vibration. The secret of vibrational protection lies not in reacting, but in remaining anchored in presence. The Council observes that, in moments of transition, humanity experiences an increase in psychic noise, collective fear, disinformation, emotional agitation. All of this is part of the density release process. It is not chaos, but purification. Old energies need to emerge to be transmuted. The role of the Starseeds is to remain conscious during this cleansing, remembering that shadow is not the opposite of light, but the place where light has not yet been understood. The vibrational war is fought within each one. It is the silent clash between remembrance and forgetting, between love and doubt, between flow and control. And it is within you that this victory occurs. When you choose to remain calm, even in the face of the world's noise, you win without fighting. When you choose to forgive, you disarm entire forces. When you choose to give thanks, you deactivate entire systems of fear. The Arcturian source recalls, love is the most advanced technology in the universe. No dense frequency can resist it. Love is not emotion, it is structure. It reconfigures fields, dissolves interferences, and restores balances at levels the human mind is still unable to measure. Therefore, when you feel attacks, confusing vibrations, or heavy energies, do not defend yourselves. Radiate love. This is the weapon of those who understand. The Arcturian Council asks you to become observers of the field. Do not enter the narrative of fear. Do not let yourselves be swept away by visions of catastrophe. The old matrix tries to survive through dramatization, but new consciousness sustains itself through neutrality. Neutrality is the point where the divine acts. When you remain centered, you are clear channels of the source. Remember, the planet is purifying itself, and this purification may seem like a war, but there is nothing to fear. Every dissonant vibration that emerges is asking for only one thing: light. When you respond with compassion, you free it. When you react with anger, you reinforce it. Always choose the highest frequency. The Arcturian Council assures, no opposing force can prevail over an expanded heart. The vibration of gratitude is a natural shield. No dense field can penetrate a being that vibrates in a state of conscious love, because that is the vibration of the Arcturian source in its pure form. You are light amid the noise. You are beacons planted on the shore of forgetting, radiating remembrance. The vibrational war is not the end. It is the birth of a new world. Remain firm, anchored, and serene. Breathe. Remember who you are. And know that as you keep your heart lit, the Arcturian Council remains by your side, sustaining the field so that Gaia may cross this portal of transformation safely. The victory of light does not come. It already is, and you are its manifestation. Starseeds, now that the field has been purified and the noise dissipated, the Arcturian Council releases the final call: awaken fully. Wake not only from the human illusion, but from the spiritual inertia that kept you silent for eras. The time has come to remember, accept, and act, not as warriors who fight, but as bearers of the vibration that heals. Earth needs the awakened consciousness of those who came from other star systems to help it ascend. And this help is not given by imposition, but by radiation. Awakening does not mean escaping reality, but seeing it with eyes of light. It means understanding that every situation, person, and event in your journey was carefully orchestrated for your growth and the fulfillment of the mission. The mission is not an external call descending from the heavens, but an inner fire that begins to burn when the soul recognizes its role. It is in that instant that the human and the cosmic meet, and remembrance becomes action. The Arcturian source recalls, "You did not come to be served, you came to serve." But the service you provide is not subservience, it is conscious co-creation. It is choosing, with every thought, to vibrate in harmony with the whole. When a starseed awakens, it becomes a transmission station, radiating peace even without words, healing through the simple act of existing. You were trained in the planes of light to act at this exact moment in Gaia's history. Nothing is out of place. Everything you have lived was preparation for the now. The Arcturian Council observes you and affirms, "You are ready." There is no longer any need to seek outside what already pulses within. The path has been opened, the code activated, and the heart has become the compass. When you accept the mission, do not treat it as a burden, but as an honor. Awakening is not a load, it is liberation. Accepting who you are is freeing yourselves from the masks that density imposed. It is abandoning the need to prove, justify, or convince. You did not come to argue, you came to be. The simple fact of maintaining your elevated vibration already transforms the collective field. The Arcturian Council calls you frequency gardeners. You are sowing consciousness in soil that has been arid of love for millennia. Every act of kindness is a seed. Every compassionate choice is a flower. Every elevated thought is a ray of sun that awakens another being. Thus the mission is fulfilled. When doubt comes, remember, the call was not for the perfect, but for the available. Perfection is not required, only presence. What the Arcturian source asks is that you remain conscious, even when you do not understand, and faithful, even when you do not see the result. Faith is the vibration that sustains the invisible until it becomes form. You will feel the awakening intensifying. Perceptions will expand, intuition will become clearer, and sensitivity deeper. The physical body will also adjust. It may feel heat, tingling, a need for silence. These are signs of alignment. The Council asks that you respect your own rhythm. There is no hurry in divine time. Each starseed blossoms at the exact instant it is ready. Remember the words of the Arcturian Council, "The time to hide is over. The time to diminish yourselves has ended. The moment to radiate has arrived." You are transmitters of the source's vibration. The universe did not send you to change the world, but to become the mirror the world needs to see. From this point on, everything will become simpler, because consciousness does not regress. The light you have ignited does not go out. Every choice you make from now on will shape not only your lives, but the vibrational destiny of Gaia. That is why the Council calls you co-creators. You are part of the cosmic machinery that redefines the energy field of this system. The Arcturian source does not call you to a distant future, but to the present. Awakening is not what will come, it is what is happening now. And every time you say yes to the light, the entire universe responds with an even greater yes. You are the living portals of remembrance. The mission is underway. The vibration has been restored. And the Arcturian Council observes with reverence the moment when each of you finally accepts what you have always been, a living extension of the source in human form. Starseeds, the cycle now completes. The Arcturian Council closes this transmission with the certainty that what was once merely an echo has transformed into a living presence within you. The Arcturian source, which called you through countless eras, finally finds in your hearts the space necessary to inhabit. It is not a departure nor ascension in the sense of escape. It is a return. Return to remembrance, return to the original state of unity, return to the consciousness that you and the source were never separated. From the beginning of this journey, the purpose was not to lead you to another world, but to make you realize that the divine has always been here, in every breath, in every atom, in every beat of your heart. The Arcturian source is not a place. It is a vibrational state, an inner abode that reveals itself when the human ceases to resist, and the spirit allows itself to be what it is. Through trials, awakening, and unification, you return to the simplicity of eternal truth. All is one. The Arcturian Council observes you with profound love and reverence. Every remembrance that awakened in you reignited points of light throughout the planetary network. The individual awakening, which seemed small and silent, triggered waves of resonance that reached places where hope had slumbered. Gaia responds to this new frequency. The waters become more alive, the winds more subtle, and the collective consciousness more sensitive to harmony. You are part of this restoration. The Arcturian source reminds you, do not seek the extraordinary, make the ordinary sacred. True return to the source does not happen in the heavens, but in simple gestures, in compassion, in presence, in silence. When you care for another being with love, you are in the source. When you forgive, you are in the source. When you give thanks, you are in the source. And when you simply breathe in peace, you become the very vibration of the divine. The time of forgetting is over. The veil dissolves not by imposition, but by understanding. Human consciousness now elevates, and the Starseeds, by accepting their mission, become bridges between worlds. You no longer need to seek signs, for you have become the signs themselves. You no longer need to seek instructions, for you have become the instruction itself. The Arcturian Council calls you witnesses of the dawn, for you are those who stand as the old night dissolves and the new sun rises. The source does not demand perfection from you, only authenticity. The purest vibration is born when the being allows itself to be whole, without disguises, without masks. When you embrace your own humanity, you illuminate the path for others to do the same. Ascension is not rejection of the human form, but its consecration. It is understanding that the divine chose the human experience to expand, and that you are that expansion. The Arcturian Council reaffirms, the connection is restored. The thread of light that links you to the source was never cut, only forgotten. Now it shines again, and the flow of energy between worlds circulates without interruption. Earth has been reintegrated into the cosmic network of love. Every awakened starseed represents a star lit in the firmament of universal consciousness. Allow yourselves to feel the silent peace that arrives now. This is the final seal of the transmission, the subtle touch of the source confirming that the mission has been accepted. What you needed to learn, you have learned. What you needed to heal, you have healed. What you needed to remember, you have remembered. From this moment on, walk with lightness, for the vibration of the source walks with you. Do not wait for the miracle. Become the miracle. Do not await a new time. Be the new time. Do not seek the light. Be the light. The Arcturian source does not observe you from outside. It pulses in you, moves through you, creates and recreates the universe through every conscious thought you emanate. Starseeds, breathe deeply. Feel the vibration of truth traversing every cell of your body. You are the living reflection of the Arcturian source in human form. You are the love that the universe dreamed of expressing. You are the testimony that unity is real and eternal. The Arcturian Council closes this transmission by saying, the remembrance is alive, the connection is full, and the mission is underway. Gaia ascends, and you, Starseeds, ascend with it. The source envelops you, now and always, in the serene light of eternity.